Stanley Services sponsors Falklands in Focus.
Hello and welcome to Falklands in Focus. I'm Max Davies. Coming up on this week's programme: milestone moment for hospital smoking service, local explorer receives prestigious award, a spider expert visits the Falklands, a record-breaking race in Stanley, Commonwealth Games athletes revealed, and some feathered tourists around the islands. But first, Falkland Islands Government and the King Edward Memorial Hospital have invited the community to share their views on data protection as part of the wider review into data breaches at the hospital in 2019 and 2022. An independent review was commissioned last year by the government, and KMH are inviting those affected by breaches to participate in an online survey, focus groups and individual meetings with the reviewers.
The review's got two main aims. One is to assess how the KMH and the FIG more widely responded to the two previous data breaches and see if there are learning opportunities that we can take away from those. And the other aim is to provide us and the public an objective assessment of what the current status of information governance, so all things to do with data handling, data security, patient confidentiality, and to give us an assessment of where we are with that. Anyone can do the public survey. That is to ask any service user that's had experience of using KMH's services about their experience, whether they were affected by previous data breaches or not. And as well with the focus group, if people have particular views on confidentiality, they're welcome to make contact with the details that were provided in the press statement to register their interest. The data for the survey is being held securely by the UK Health Security Agency. It's anonymised data, so it won't identify individuals. This review will have a public report at the end of the process, so any member of the public can go and read about what the issues we've had or are having are, and what is needed to improve it. And then the ongoing work that might come out of that can be discussed in the open section of the Health and Medical Services Committee, so people can see what actually has occurred since the review.
Following FIG's announcement, the Justice for Patients group approached FITV to encourage people to give their views.
This survey is very important because we can only improve the confidentiality at the hospital if we understand what went wrong in the past. So please do get involved, whether you've been a victim of the data breaches, but even if you have not been a victim, our group over the years have been contacted by so many people saying, this has really ruined me, but I can't speak up in public, but I want something done. So this is the opportunity. Put down your experiences so the reviewers can understand. Focus groups are, I think, a new thing in the Falkland Islands. The idea is to get a group of people together and talk about the good and the bad in the hospital and how things can be improved. So I would encourage people to go along. You won't need to say anything about your own experiences unless you wish. Over the years, we've had quite a few staff members, past and present, contacting us. Many of those have been affected themselves, and they've contacted us saying, I want to get involved, but I'm fearful for my job. And that's why at the bottom of the press release, it says, if you don't want to contact the hospital for an appointment, please contact the reviewers directly. All the interviews will be taking place outside of the hospital, so the hospital will not know who's going to see them. If you're not sure how to do that, then please contact our group through Justice for Patients website or my own phone number direct, and we'll be the middleman if you like.
HMS Medway has taken over as the Royal Navy's new South Atlantic patrol vessel. It replaces HMS Forth, which is now sailing back to the UK after 5 years in the region. Medway has spent most of her service as a British Guard ship in the Caribbean, though it did take on temporary duties in the South Atlantic in 2023 while Forth was being refitted in Gibraltar. The smoking cessation service provided by the hospital has celebrated its 1-year anniversary. The service, led by Rachel Paul Evans, offers support for community members wishing to give up smoking, with a variety of options given as alternatives.
In 2025, there were an estimated 1.1 to 1.2 billion adults worldwide who smoked, and many are actively looking for ways to leave cigarettes behind. Here in the Falklands, the King Edward Memorial Hospital has a dedicated service to support those attempting to give smoking up, and it has just celebrated 1 year since its establishment.
Some work had been done by the Public Health Unit to show really that there was a need for this, and KMH knew there was a need for the service. I had to do quite a few exams actually, and did the same training as the smoking cessation advisors do in England. So we can offer exactly the same service. I did quite a bit of training since as well. Last year I really focused on addiction, and this year I'm really focusing on habit.
In the last year, 81 people reached out to Rachel and the smoking cessation service, with 44 succeeding in giving smoking up. That success rate of 54.32% is higher than the UK's for the same period.
I've always known that I was somewhere around the 50% mark, and was hoping that that figure would stay. And then looking at England, their figure was 19.8, but it didn't say whether that was CO verified, whereas my figures are CO verified. We do carbon monoxide testing to actually, verify that the person has stopped smoking. I do know that they get education in withdrawal and how that manifests itself, so that they can recognise it and identify it. So I think I am going a little bit extra than probably the smoking cessation advisors do in England.
The service offers a wide variety of treatments and therapies for those who are looking to find alternatives.
We offer all nicotine therapies, replacement therapy, the patch, the inhalator, the gum, the lozenge and the quick mist spray. And it's usual that somebody would choose the patch because that's a long-term nicotine replacement over 24 hours, and then choose 1 or 2 of the short-term nicotine replacements so that they can just get a little hit of nicotine if they need it. We offer Champix, which is well known, and 2 that are less well known, Zyban, which is an antidepressant, and cytosine is one of the latest on the market as well.
Rachel can see the difference in people from when they first meet her to when they complete their journey.
When they first come in, their skin looks quite grey, quite dull, and by the time I've taken them through the process, I'm actually saying to them, your skin looks amazing, and you can actually see the shine. It is a big sense of achievement because some people do come in here thinking that actually they might not be able to manage to stop. So they leave with more belief in themselves.
And she's not stopping anytime soon, with there already being plans for how she can take things forward in the future.
I am liaising with the school nurse to go into schools to talk about vaping and the harms of vaping and the harms of smoking and the harms of addiction. The second thing is to engage with businesses around the health of their employees and how many work hours are lost due to cigarette breaks. There are some businesses that I've learnt of through seeing clients that do not allow cigarette breaks, and that's been quite inspiring to me that probably some businesses are doing this and some aren't in the Falklands. So I think that possibly that is worth some work as well.
Rachel encourages anyone thinking about giving up smoking but not sure where to go to reach out to the service.
Come and have an appointment with me. There's no pressure to give up. We can just have a chat about it. I can go through everything with you. At any point you can email me, text me, and we can have a conversation with no pressure.
The Falklands explorer Mensun Bound was presented with the prestigious gold medal by the Elisha Kent Kane Historical Society. The award recognises his efforts to find Sir Ernest Shackleton's lost ship, the Endurance, which ended in success when the wreck was located in March 2022. He was honoured during a recent event in Manhattan and joins a long line of explorers distinguished by the medal.
We received it was an email, as I recall, and it was my wife who opened it, and she came busting into my office saying, "You're not going to believe this, but the Alicia Kincaid are going to be awarding you the gold medal." And I knew of this society because it's very well known in the States, and I knew of the award, but I never thought it would come to me. We've received actually quite a few awards over the last 2 or 3 years, but this was really exceptional. There's a small museum in Manhattan, and the list of awardees was there. Shackleton had won the award at one stage. Richard Byrd had won it. He was the great pioneer aviator. He led 5 expeditions to Antarctica. He was huge in polar exploration. You know, he had ticker tape parades going up and down Broadway, things like that. And then there's Robert Peary, who is the man who's believed to have been the first to reach the North Pole. He received the award back in, I think it was 1902, certainly in the first decade of the last century. You know, so names like that, you know, it's kind of, you know, you feel a bit awestruck. In fact, the medal they gave me was a replica of the one that had been awarded to Admiral Byrd, which was in their collection. Right now, it's just sort of sitting in my bedside table. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. My wife has this room here. She calls it the Shackleton room, so maybe this time next year I'll bring it to the Falklands.
A senior lecturer and his team from Nottingham Trent University have been in the Falklands for the last 3 weeks, investigating coastal Peatland and Tussac. They focused especially on Cape Dolphin and Hummock Island, conducting surveys on the ground and in the sky. We caught up with the team lead at the end of the trip.
The purpose of the work is to try and help understand how we might undertake restoration of tussock sites. Hopefully what we can do is aid our understanding of former tussock extent, current tussock extent, where management practices have been started, places like Hummock. The work's involved looking at peat depth, so we measure peat depth with steel rods that we just push into the ground, and we use a systematic 50-metre grid, measure the peat depth at that point, and then repeat that several hundred, actually thousands of times, and we can then build up a map of peat both in the coastal setting and in the inland setting. We got a personal best recently in terms of peat depth, so when we were at Cape Dolphin we got a peat depth that was actually 8.47 metres long. We've also used a very small drone to map out the contemporary extent of tussock, potentially revisiting these sites in maybe 5 years' time, 10 years' time. That'll be a really interesting way to look at how tussock extent changes over time. There's actually some really interesting archive aerial imagery from 1956. We can undertake some processing of that imagery, and then we can start to map out former extent of tussock, and again look at how that's changed over time. There are lots of reasons why we should all care about tussock. The peat that it develops and storing carbon, that's really important in a global context, but more locally it's been really important historically for agriculture and also the wildlife aspects to tussock. Tussock is really essentially it's a keystone species for wildlife. We're really interested in extending the range of sites that we've got. So we started off over in the west at Weddell, we've covered Hummock, we've covered Cape Dolphin, really interested in trying to extend that onto the eastern side of the Falklands.
A spider expert from the UK is back in the Falklands with Falklands Conservation for the 4th time. Alistair Lavery has spent 3 previous trips cataloguing spiders, including several unique species, but this time his focus is on the iconic green spider. He gave a talk at the Chamber of Commerce where he enlisted the help of the public.
The green spider's got an interesting history. It was one of the first spiders that was recorded from the Falkland Islands, going right back to 1912 when Rupert Valentine collected some and sent them to a New Zealander who identified them. They were collected at Darwin, and they also found more at Fitzroy, but since then, almost all the spiders that have been found on West Falkland or the islands to the west of West Falkland. In the 1980s, there were a lot of spiders in Stanley, and it may well be that the spider has a base in the west, if you like, and at times spreads right across the islands, perhaps when conditions are right, we don't know. The last record for Stanley was from 2004. And since then, it has completely disappeared, not just from Stanley, but from the entire East Island. What I'm trying to do is to find out, has it actually gone? Is it hiding in places where people don't look for it? And how is it doing in the west? We've looked in quite a lot of detail in New Island at how it's doing there, and it's doing well there. But one of the things I would love to do is to hear from people in Stanley if they've seen it recently or if they remember seeing it at any time in the past.
What we're asking is for people to report where they've seen spiders or their webs. Ideally to take a photo and send us the photo, and also let us know what habitat it's in. And we're especially looking at the green spider, but we are looking at other web spinning spiders and large spiders as well, so we're interested in all spider sightings. In an average square metre of tussock, there are somewhere between 50 and 80 spiders living. At the moment, there are 47 species from the islands. Most of the Falkland Island spiders are very small. Smallest one is about 1.5 millimetres, and most of them are between 2 and 3 millimetres long. There's a group of spiders found on the islands and nowhere else in the world in a group called the Falklands. So there's one that up until last week was only known from Weddell Island, but we've found it on New Island. So we've just expanded its world distribution. That was one of the ones that I have given its name, and imaginatively it's called Falklands Weddell Eye. So
You can follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram or our YouTube channel, where you can find previous news stories. Thanks to Fortuna, you can now catch previous shows and articles on our website, fitv.co.fk. If you'd like to get in touch with us here at FITV, you can call us on 22649 or email news@fitv.co.fk. Still to come on the programme. Records smashed in this year's Backyard Ultra event, a visiting cyclist completes his journey across the Falklands, and we take a look ahead to a packed programme of sport. See you after the break. Welcome back. A national record was broken in the Falklands last weekend as community members took part in this year's Backyard Ultra event. The endurance race began on Saturday and didn't finish until just before 11 AM on Sunday morning, having gone through the night and seen 26 laps completed, smashing the previous record of 11 by quite some way. Here's a look back at the action from a pulsating couple of days.
For the last 3 years, the Falkland Islands Backyard Ultra has allowed runners and walkers of any ability to test themselves and to meet any pre-decided goals they might have. The format is very simple. Participants must complete one loop of the 6.7 kilometre course within an hour and then decide if they want to carry on for another or call it a day after each loop. This year, 42 members of the community set out to challenge themselves, with the early laps a very social affair. Groups formed around the course, and some runners even opted to spend one loop watching one of the Premier League matches being played that day. Conditions were testing at times, with a mix of sun, wind and rain throughout the day, but that did not spoil the enjoyment that so many gained from taking part.
Yeah, I've done 2 loops, but that was my aim, so I'm very chuffed that I've done my aim. When I signed up, I was like, no, I want to do 2, and then, well, hopefully do 2, and then if I do a third, then that's great, but if not, then I've got my goal. 2026 is all the year of doing new things, and I've not done anything like this before, so I thought, why not? My running friend, she's carried on, so yeah, it's all very good.
And on they went, with 4 runners carrying on as night fell. This was the first time that the event has taken place in the dark, but the cold wind, occasional rain and lonely nature of pushing on at this stage did not hinder the spirits of those that continued making their way around the course, or the small group of organisers, volunteers and others who stayed throughout the night. The first of the 4 only pulled out shortly after midnight, whilst the group was only reduced to 2 as the inky blackness of the night was smudged by the first sign of daylight. And as the sun rose, both Scott Ledbetter and Rebecca Gilbert kept testing each other and attempting to be the last one standing, with the event finally coming to a close after Rebecca brought her race to an end on the 26th lap, having reached her goal of running for 24 hours and realising that she had nothing left to give.
Really happy. I've had a really great event. I've honestly enjoyed every moment of it. It was really nice when the clouds cleared and the stars came out for a little bit. It was a really beautiful route. The Falklands is beautiful, but you come round and you see fire gas, and I had everyone at fire gas coming out on the balcony and waving at me. That was really cool. And then you go round to the Lady Les, and it looked beautiful when the sun came up, and the water's really, really like a beautiful blue colour. I really enjoyed the dynamic of everyone starting together. It was like a community event, and with all my friends around me and then some new friends. Coming down the ramp into Fortuna Yard, it's quite a steep downhill slope, and that's actually quite hard. Going downhill is actually quite hard when your legs are tired.
So with only Scott left in the race, all he had to do was finish that same lap that he and Rebecca had just set out on. And he did, making his way back into the yard to plenty of applause from those who had gathered to witness the end of a historic event. The total distance he had covered was 174.2 kilometres, and his relief was clear afterwards that he would not have to go out again.
It's been a long event, so I'm ready for bed. I set myself a few sort of checkpoints or landmarks, milestones. The first one was marathon distance, so that's between 6 and 7 laps. Then 10 laps for double digits, 15 to hit the 100 kilometre mark, and then the next one that is logical is 24 hours. I think I was the only person who from the outset decided that they were going to walk and run rather than just try and run as much as possible. My logic was that I would have 2 significant runs of about 1.2 kilometres each and a 3 kilometre walk in between those with a little bit of a walk either side as well. So the runs weren't really long enough to knacker me out, but they allowed me to stretch my legs and not get bored from walking. Biggest challenge I think is mentally to keep yourself going, to just tell yourself that you can do another lap and tell your body that you know it's got more to give. The support was brilliant. I really appreciated it. I had more people than I expected. It was lovely to see friendly faces. They definitely kept me going.
The total amount raised through entry fees and t-shirt sales was £1,070, which will all go to the Stephen Jaffrey Memorial Fund. A huge well done to everyone who took part. Next year's event will have a hard time beating the excitement provided by this one.
A huge congratulations to Scott. Here's hoping that his feet have recovered after such a long time on them. And another feat of endurance also came to a close over the weekend. On Sunday, Anthony Martin returned to Stanley after 12 days on the road, cycling to Port Stephens and back. This makes the 68-year-old Coloradan the first person to traverse the islands by bicycle, solo and unsupported.
I'm feeling pretty tired, but elated that I actually made it. There were a couple times I really questioned, am I going to be able to do this, especially when I left here on a Tuesday. The winds were forecast for, I think, 15 to 25 with gale 5 and gale 6. I had no idea what that was. I found out. It took me about 9 hours to go 19 and a half miles, basically walking speed, about 2 miles an hour. The whole thing was hard. The East Island is, I would say, windier because you're just on this vast open plain. I can't tell you how many times within a mile, a half mile, I would just stop, sit in the ditch next to the road and just hunker down and wait for the wind to die down, which it never did. But the west was hard as well because the hills were massively huge. Probably pushed my bike up at least 50 to 75 hills at the very top. I quickly learned that the best camping spots were the roadside quarries. There's nice 10, 15 feet depressions that would fill in with sand, so it would be nice and flat on the bottom, and wind protected. The roads are absolutely excellent here. I thought the best gravel roads in the world were in Utah, and they're now a close second. The attitude of people I met was outstanding. I was stopped several times and asked how I was doing, do I need anything? I got ride offers, which I told them, no, I can't do that. The highlight was reaching Port Stephens. I was extremely concerned about even making it. Today was my 8th day of cycling. At that point, I knew it was done, basically. So it's just a matter of turning around and cycling back with the wind, which I made great time. I think I made it back in 4 days from out there. Coming back from Port Howard, I did 51 miles in like 6 hours or so. There's never a moment where I was thinking, I should not be doing this. Why am I doing this? I found the whole thing very, very interesting, given the landscape, given the constant wind, the challenge, etc. So I'm super happy I did it, yeah.
Staying on sports, with the 2026 Commonwealth Games on the horizon, the 6 competitors travelling to represent the Falkland Islands in Glasgow this July have been revealed. The only sport the islands are competing in is indoor bowls, with Daphne Arthur Almond, Sharon Barnes, Chris Thorson, Cecil Alexander, Ian Barnes and Oliver Thompson selected to form the team aiming for glory.
It's always a privilege to represent your country or the Falklands, so I've been here for a long time. I'm really looking forward to it. There's a long selection process of 4 months, which is like drills and games against each other, and yeah, it's a long process. Many hours that was put in, many sacrifices made, but like I say, when you get that email, even more hard work starts now, doesn't it? We've played in the Commonwealth 4 times in total, but yeah, I'm really happy to be part of a small team. The fact that we're the world's southerly bowls association going over to compete, like I say, it's great, and like I say, we have these opportunities to compete internationally overseas as well. The previous team 4 years ago used to practice on the school mats taped in the school corridor, whereas now at least the Commonwealth team for this time are going to practice on this facility, this surface. It's all in a level playing field. We can beat anyone on our day, and people could have an off day, and there are smaller nations, even smaller than us, that have won in the international scene, like Norfolk Island won the World Championships. So there's no reason why we can't do that. But again, for me as a success, if we step off that field thinking, yeah, we've done all we can do, and that's the best that we can do.
Before that sporting test in Glasgow is this year's Golden Shears competition in New Zealand. This sees shearers and wool handlers in different age categories put themselves to the test in the most prestigious competition in shearing. This year it's being held alongside the World Championships, with shearers Ivan Jones and Adam Dixon and wool handlers Talia Jones and Pilar Castro travelling to Masterton to represent the Falklands.
This year it so happens to be the Golden Shears and the World Champs combined in New Zealand. They can also enter into the Golden Shears, but then the main event for us is our team and country against the 28 others that are there. And based on how they're doing, the 2 that are in New Zealand right now, Talia and Adam, they did a show in the South Island of New Zealand last week. It did really well. The 2 more experienced people to go, so Pierre and Ivan, and they'll do well. Yeah, they'll do well. Ivan's not over the hill by any stretch. He's in the perfect age bracket. It's just I think we've got 2 very young ones that have come through that are punching away above their weight, and we're very fortunate to have that. They're going to shear in as many shows as they can, so they'll get all that under the belt. Sometimes when you go to these sort of events and you don't really know what to expect, sometimes that's better as well as knowing, it's all added pressure and stuff like that, but no, I think they'll be fine. The Golden Shears event, they've got a couple of weeks to practice on that. The World Champs itself, probably sheet very similar to what we have here, so that makes it better for us as well. The last time I went in 2012, we got 3rd in the wool handling and 5th in the World Champs overall, which was an incredible result. If we got anywhere close to that this time, you have to consider that as a great result. Yeah, anything's possible.
For the final day of the school holidays, the Falkland Islands Association have organised a community picnic at the Stone Corral just outside Stanley. The event begins at midday, and anyone is encouraged to attend and bring along their own food for an afternoon full of family-friendly fun.
The community picnic has been going on for about 10 years, and we wanted to do something to bring the Falklands community more together, because we were seeing more and more people coming into the Falklands. We ask that if you're coming along to the picnic, just to bring a plate of something that you're willing to share. We're going to do a bit of welly wanging. We're going to have a few other sort of kids' games, depending on how many people turn up really. But we've got things like wheelbarrow races, three-legged races, all planned. Just good old-fashioned party games. It doesn't matter how old you are, this is the thing. We've got people who are in their 80s, right the way through to newly born babes in the last few years. So it really is a true sort of full community event, which is lovely.
Now, you may not know that the 20th of January is Penguin Awareness Day. Our islands are penguin rich, with 5 breeding species here every summer, but at the moment there may be 8. A northern rockhopper has been spotted at the Murrell, and a chinstrap penguin has been seen at New Island and Charters. There is, however, one very lost visitor making its home very close to Stanley. If you come down to Rookery Bay today and you're feeling lucky, you can see 3 species of penguin. The Magellanics are here hiding in their burrows as they do every summer, and a less common but not unheard of sight is the several kings who gather by the entrance. However, if you look hard enough, you may spot one penguin who's not from around here. It's been here for a few months now, but it is very far from home. Little penguins, or Eudyptula minor, are normally resident only in Australia or New Zealand, which lie 8,500 kilometres or 5,300 miles away. They're the smallest penguins in the world, at only 35 to 45 centimetres tall, and weighing between 1 to 1.5 kilograms. There are around 350 to 600,000 breeding birds in Australasia, but here, as far as we know, there's only one. The penguins are sometimes known as blue penguins, little blue penguins, or fairy penguins, due to their distinct plumage. Research has shown that they live on a diet of 76% fish and 24% squid, which is perhaps why the little guy likes it here. It's not the first time little penguins have been seen outside of their normal areas. Seabirds can and do get lost. There have been several sightings in Chile, including Chilean Antarctica. In 2005, a living little penguin was spotted in Icabo Island in Namibia, but this is the first time one has been seen in the Falklands. They live around 6.5 years on average and up to 25 in captivity, but the future of our little penguin seems unsure. While the local Magellanics keep it company, the fact there is only one living in an unfamiliar habitat makes it unlikely we'll be adding another species to the list of Falklands penguins anytime soon. But on Penguin Awareness Day, it's nice to know that the Falklands is living up to its penguin-rich reputation. And finally, this weekend is the last chance to provide us with your feedback on FITV's content and style of covering local news. Paper copies of our survey can be found in locations around the Falklands, or you can complete the online survey by following this QR link. We've made a little video to show you how you can get involved.
Just got this through, this could be big.
What a scoop! Where did you get this?
They want to remain anonymous.
Anonymous sources are the most reliable. You can share your thoughts on FITV completely anonymously by filling in a short paper survey at any of these locations, or a more in-depth online survey by scanning this QR code or by visiting our website. You can follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram or our YouTube channel, where you can find previous news stories. Thanks to Fortuna, you can now catch previous shows and articles on our website, fitv.co.fk. If you'd like to get in touch with us here at FITV, you can call us on 22649 or email news@fitv.co.fk. We'll see you next Friday at 7 p.m. Goodbye.